Hey guys, so it has been a while, but I'm back with a new YouTube video. Today's video is all about 3 ways that you could begin to step into or become the woman God created you to be. And what God began to tell me and show me is that in this season, he needs his women to rise up and become. This month, all videos are going to be around our takeover series. So I am doing a 10-week challenge, this takeover challenge, with a group of women who are ready to go, who are like, I'm ready to step into everything God has for me. And in that, it's really about knowing who you are, stepping into who God created you to be, no longer staying in who people said you were, who you think you are, who you say you are. Listen, my story revolves around not really stepping into who I am. And I can say after my even break here on YouTube that I've been able to now step into who I am, authentically be who God created me to be. So if that's something that you want to learn about, the 3 ways you can begin to become who God created you to be, stay tuned and don't forget to subscribe. We're about to get into the video now. Okay, so the first thing that you have to do in order to become who God created you to be is that you have to realize that who you are right now, if this is for you in this season, in this area, who you are right now is not who God created you to be. First things first, you have to realize that. I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about my story. For years and years, I was broken, I was hurt, I was sad, I was mad, I was depressed, I was angry, I was all of these things. And just the years of all these things that just accumulated on my heart, wearing down my spirit, my soul was just in this place where it was so fragmented that I was just a portion of who God really needed me and had created me to be. And so for many of us, we don't even understand that who we are and who we've become is not even who we're meant to be. And so for me, I started going to therapy. I started to get to know myself, and they started to unravel all of the things that were placed on me, those stamps, those labels, all of the things that made it seem as if that's who I was. And so I really had to get into a place where I did that deep work. I did the work of finding out, hold on, this is not who I am. This is not who God says I am. The very first thing is that if you are in a state right now where you are feeling sad, down, broken, depressed, out of it, just confused about life, more than likely you're not where you are supposed to be. And what I always tell people is that God created us. If he created us, then that means that he knows the plans that he has for our life. And if we're confused and lost in life, then that means we just need to go deeper in God in order to find out the plans that God has for us. And that's why we always say, I found my purpose, or I discovered my purpose. I found who I was when I began to follow God, to seek Christ, to get to know him. And I think that because this is number 1, is to realize that who you are, if you are broken, is not who you really are. To really think about it, like, where are you right now? Do you feel broken? Is your heart broken? Do you feel downtrodden? Do you feel oppressed? Do you feel like you are living in bondage? Or do you feel free? Do you feel whole? Do you feel that you know who you are and who you created? And that's a journey in itself. It's really about that journey and that process of walking through it. And you want to know where it begins. It begins with wanting to know God. It begins to wanting to know who he is and building a relationship with him. So if you're someone who you're like, I don't know how to build a relationship with God, I'm confused, click the description box, because I have an online course that teaches you how to build a strong, intimate relationship with God. There's modules, there's 6 modules, 6 lessons in each module, and each module takes you closer and closer to the goal of growing closer in your relationship with God. So if you're someone who's struggling with knowing who you are, why you're here, why you were created, then you want to go deeper in God. You want to get to know him. You want to say, you know what, God, I know I'm here for a reason. I know I have a purpose. And you may be someone where you just know in your heart, in your soul, that there's so much more for you to do in this life, that where you are right now is not where you're supposed to be. And so when you get to a point where you like, you know what, this is not who I am. This is not where I'm supposed to be. Like, there's so much more. That's when you realize, you know what, I need to do the work. And that's the key right there. I need to do the work to become who God created me to be. So number 1 is to really look around and say, is this who you are? And to understand that the enemy wants you, the devil wants you to feel like that's who you are. But that may not be who you are. Okay, so if step one is to understand that who you are is probably not who you really are, then the next one is to begin to find out who you are. Now, when we talk about becoming who God created you to be, a lot of women right now, where God is telling you to rise up, you struggle with low self-esteem, you struggle with confidence, you struggle with being with becoming or being who God says you are. And so for a lot of women, you already know who God says you are. You've already done that work. You've done the deep work. You've gone deeper in God. He's began to show you your purpose. You've stepped into your purpose. But there's still a little bit of residue from where in step one, where you thought that's who you were, but then you realize that's not really who you are. And so that residue is still on you, where you got to get that off of you, where you have to begin to believe who God says you are. You have to begin to take those prophetic words that's been spoken over your life and say, you know what? I'm about to step into these prophetic words. In that, it's easier said than done, but there's work that has to be done for you to begin to believe who God says you are. And that is where the fight begins. Because the moment you begin to step into who God says you are, the moment you begin to believe who God says you are, you start to walk in that, and God begins to tell you that you are a mother to nations, called to nations, all of these things that God begins to speak and say to you. And then you start to doubt it. Or somebody creeps in and puts a little bug in your ear, and then where you were moving and going and shaking in that space, now you're starting to shrink back. All the devil wants you to do, when we talk about becoming who God created, listen, ding dong. When we talk about becoming who God created you to be, the devil just wants you to shrink back every step of the way. The goal is that you shrink back. The goal is that you don't become. Because even if we look up the word become, the word becomes means to begin to be. So if we are working to begin to be who God created us to be, and then the enemy is like, but wait a minute, I'm gonna just say Jessica is beginning to be who God created us to be. Jessica is beginning to be a motivational speaker. Ashley is beginning to be a prophetess. Amanda is beginning to be whoever God says she is. Let me stop her right in her tracks. And so if I'm talking to you, let me know in the comments if I'm talking to you where the enemy is coming and you are beginning to be, or you are trying to begin to be who God created you to be, but you just feel that resistance. You just feel that wall blocking you. You just feel that's something that's stopping you. That's something that's trying to stop you from beginning to be who God created you to be. And so when we stop that flow, that rotation, that flow that begins to happen when the Bible talks about how God raises us up. And if you think about a child, you raise it up. It's gradual, it's over time. It doesn't mean that you will become who God created you to be in one day, but he's raising you up to be who he created you to be. You know, even if we think about Esther, it was gradual over time. She ate her special foods. She did all the preparations that she had to do in order to become queen. So we have to understand that this whole process of becoming who God created you to be, it is a process and it takes time. But we don't want to get to a place where we shrink back. We don't want to get to a place where we start to rise up and then we allow low self-esteem to stop us from showing up. Again, most of the women who are called to this ministry, Journey to the Kingdom, Journey with Johanna, everything that God has me doing, there's probably a struggle with self-esteem, and there's probably some confidence issues that we have to overcome together to get you to become who God created you to be. But that's okay, because again, what does it mean to become? To begin to be. So for every single person who's on here, number one, you have to realize maybe this is not who I am. Maybe I'm not meant to be broken. But then you have to begin to, as you seek God and you begin to know who you are, and God begins to speak these things to you. And if he hasn't spoken these things to you, continue to seek him. You know, go deeper in him. Lord, what is my purpose? What is my calling? What is my assignment? But pro tip is that I began to find my purpose in the word. I began to know my calling, my assignment, and who God created me to be by reading the word. So if you're still struggling on your purpose and who you're supposed to be, I would recommend that you go deeper in the word, because it was as if when I saw my purpose, a fisher of men, it was illuminated and I knew it was for me. So step number 2 is to find out who you really are. And the third and final step is to take the leap and walk in it. 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 After you have realized that this is not who you are, this is not who God created me to be, I'm still broken, and step 1. then you start to do the work. You start to do the deep work. You start to discover who you are. You start to find out who God created you to be. Now you're like, you know what? This is who I am. This is who God created me to be. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And this is the step that causes people to stay stuck. This is the step that causes people not to see the full fruition, manifestation of who God created you to be, because he starts to show you who you are. He starts to give you vision. He starts to show you this is where I want to take you. But if we never step into it, we never become. We never become who he created. We never become who he created us to be if we don't step into it. I look at it and I'm seeing it this way. Imagine you worked your job and you worked really hard. You did all the work, and your boss came up to you and they were like, oh, you know what? We're about to give you a promotion. We're about to promote you from an employee to a supervisor. And the promotion is right there at the door. All you have to do is say yes and step into it. But you don't. And that's what we look like as believers and as Christians and kingdom-minded people where God is like, we are going through this process. We're doing this deep work. I'm helping you. I'm helping you get to that place in yourself where you begin to see yourself the way that I see you, who I created you to be. But sometimes we get right to the door and God is like, step into it. And that's when fear comes up. And that's when the enemy gets into our ear. And that's when people try to get into our ear and they try to tell us that that's not what you're supposed to be doing. That's not who you are. Listen, y'all, we got to get into a place where we begin to step into everything, where God begins to show us and he gives us the instructions and he says, this is what you're supposed to be doing. And we say, you know what? I'm about to do it. I'm going to do it. And if I make a mistake, I make a mistake. But God is going to reroute that thing and he's going to show you where you're supposed to be. And he's going to show you the route that you were supposed to take, even if you make a mistake. But if you do it with him, you don't have to worry about that. If you move with him, he's going to lead you and guide you along the way. But what I'm feeling right now is that God is like, I need my people to get into a place where they begin to step into who I created them to be. No longer can we just sit with being promoted in the spirit and we don't step into who God is creating us to be. And that's what we look like so many times. I saw this. I'm doing a prophetic word on this on my other channel. You guys, I'll put it in the description box if you want to follow that channel. But I do prophetic words over there, what God is speaking in the season. Really, what I feel is on my heart, and I know God had me put it this way on this channel, these 3 ways to become who God created you to be. But this step is the most important. You didn't sit in being broken and hurt and down and depressed and sad all those years to not get to where God wants you to be. You didn't do all the deep work of finding out who you are. And again, I'm speaking to each level right now. But you didn't do all that deep work of going deeper in who you are and ripping away all the things and allowing God to prune you and going through the wilderness and all of the things that happened to you to stay right there. And we got to get to a place where we understand, you know what? I'm here now, but I have to rise up. I have to rise up. I have to get up. I have to believe who God said I am. And God is going to speak it. He's going to send people to speak it to you. It's like he wants you to get to that place. But what I'm trying to say is that it doesn't matter how many people speak over you. It doesn't matter how many people tell you how great you are. It doesn't matter how many people tell you how amazing you are if you don't believe it for yourself. And that's something that I had to learn on my journey and my walk, because people would come to me and be like, oh, you helped me so much, this, that, all around. And it wasn't until I started to believe it in myself and see it in myself and see who God created me to be and say, you know what? And boldly step into who God created me to be. Not in a boastful way or in a braggadocious, arrogant way. But it's a difference when you have confidence in yourself. And that's what I feel like we need. God needs his people to have Godfidence, confidence in themselves. To this is who God created me to be, and this is who I am, and I'm going to stand in this, and I'm going to rise up in this, and I'm going to walk in this. And I pray that this video really helps people in their faith, really helps people begin to get to a point where, you know what, this is not who I am. You know what, let me find God and let me go deeper in him. You know what, let me rise up. Because if God says that's who you are, don't let other people come into your ear and tell you that's not who you are. And not even people. Don't let yourself talk you out of who God says you are. So I don't want this video to be too long. No idea how long this video is. But if this video spoke to you, if it resonated with you, this is our takeover season. Every video this month is going to help you get to the point of where you're able to take over in your life, in your ministry, in your business. And also, if you're someone who has a ministry, a business, God has given you the pieces of the puzzle and you're just like, I don't know where to begin. I have a membership program where we come together in this space. We meet weekly. We have a weekly accountability. And you may say weekly accountability, but weekly accountability so that you get things done. Weekly accountability so that you hold yourself accountable. Weekly accountability so that you begin to say, you no longer say, I've been so inconsistent. I'm so upset with myself. I'm so upset because I'm not focused. No, 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 no. We rip that apart and we have weekly accountability where you check in on Momentum Monday. We have Winning Wednesday where, hey, how's it going? Are you still doing the work? And then we have Finished Friday. We meet every single Wednesday. We have something going on, whether it is a check-in, the Teacher's Lounge. And the Teacher's Lounge is important because it is a place for you to be around like-minded individuals, like-minded women who are building with God. So if you have a ministry, a business, you're launching a YouTube channel, whatever it is that God has called you to create, we are birthing this out in the membership program. So if this sounds like something that you're interested in, you can click the link in my description box, or you can go to www.birthingthevision.com, because we're birthing these babies out. And we have the accountability that you need. We're helping with the consistency. We are showing up. We're leveling up. And what we're doing is a 10-week takeover challenge. I can tell you, if you do everything that God has given me in this strategy for 10 weeks, you're going to see yourself grow. You're going to see your ministry grow. You're going to see your business grow. You're going to see all of these things begin to grow because you are doing what it takes to level up in every area that it takes when we speak about acceleration. So if this video helped you, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Make sure you like it because it'll boost it in the algorithm and it'll get out to more people. And if this video resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I put out videos every Thursday. I haven't been here for a while, but I'm back. And I'm excited because, again, a shift happened in me where I'm able to really rise up and be who God created me to be. This is where God needs us. Walking in our assignments, being who he created us to be, unapologetically you. We'll be back with another video next week in our takeover series where we are getting to a place where we just rise up in who we are and we take over every area of our life. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you guys next week. That's the goal. The goal is that you rise up to the point where you are I cannot say this word. Rise up to the point where you are Rise up to the point where you are unapologetically you. Did I say that right? I don't know. Anyway, y'all.